For one more. Hello and everyone, welcome to Badminton Ireland's first Women in Sport webinar. My name is Carla Kennedy and tonight I will be hosting this webinar along with my colleague Sarah O'Donoghue from Badminton Ireland. I am the Aspire graduate in Badminton Ireland at the moment, and Sarah is the development officer there. I would like to take this opportunity now to thank you all for joining us for this webinar this evening, and take the opportunity to introduce our 4 panelists to you. So Chloe McGee is a 3-time Olympian for badminton, a 2-time bronze medalist, European bronze medalist, and a European Championship bronze medalist as well. Chloe has also won 26 national titles to date. Nora Stapleton is the current Women in Sport lead in Sport Ireland, and she's also a former Irish rugby international, earning 50 caps with Ireland as well. Rachel Dara is a current Badminton Ireland international player. Rachel's a former national champion in both singles and doubles, and Rachel has also qualified for the last 2 European Games. And finally, last but not least, Sarah Boyle is a current Badminton international player. Sarah has made the last 8 of the European Mixed Championships, and Sarah is a current national champion in singles and doubles, and Sarah also qualified for the 2015 European Games. So just a few house rules to point out to you all that you're joining us. A recorded version of this webinar is going to be available on the Badminton Ireland YouTube page. So if you have to leave early this evening, or if there was somebody who wasn't able to tune in this evening, you can point them to our YouTube channel and they can watch it back there. If you're watching on Zoom, if you actually hover your mouse over the end of the bottom of your laptop screen, you'll see that there's a little Q&A button. If at any point during the discussions this evening you have a question for any of our panelists, please be sure to write it into the Q&A box and we will get to them at the end. If you're watching on YouTube, again, if you comment on the video, these questions will also be incorporated in our Q&A. So I would like to encourage all of you who are putting up social media posts, if you would kindly tag Badminton Ireland, Sport Ireland 20x20 and use the 2 hashtags WIS webinar and Women in Sport IORE. I think that's all my house rules for the moment. So we'll jump straight through it if you guys are ready. So we'll get into the COVID stuff first, nice and light. First question is, how is the current restrictions affecting your training regime? Chloe, I'll start with you if that's okay.
Yeah, hey guys, I hope you can all hear me. For me, currently the restrictions has obviously really stopped more or less our training. So we normally train in Dublin Monday to Friday, on court almost twice every day. So we can't train on court now at all. A lot of it has changed to being physical. I'm lucky enough that I have some weights at home so I can work off that. But right now it's a lot of running and a lot of cycling. And I don't like running. I'm not a very good cyclist. So it's going okay.
And Sarah, I'll come to you next.
Yeah, so I'm the same as Chloe. Obviously our training is stopped now on court. So now it's all about just keeping fit and yeah, I'm doing a lot of running myself. I'm doing a running program with my dad, doing a running program with me, which I'm running with my sister. And then I suppose just trying to keep a structure on your day. Whereas normally used to getting up Monday to Friday, up at 7:30, training at 9 for that horrible, sometimes Friday morning at 7 a.m. I'm sure the girls are missing that as much as me. But yeah, no, it's just about getting used to, I suppose, just trying to have to stay fit in these times because we can't be on court. So it's just all our training is trained to more of a training block instead of like short, sharp stuff that we would have been doing because we had tournaments coming up. So I suppose, yeah, it's just having to adapt and get used to this, but hopefully it'll be over soon and then we'll be back. Well, yeah, so
fingers crossed. Rachel, have you been able to do much from home?
Yeah, obviously I'm in Donegal as well with my parents. I don't really get to come up here that much, so it's been quite nice to actually get home and be able to do that. And I'm surrounded by a lot of grass and stuff, so it's nice to be able to do the running on like different surfaces and the bike, and I have access to weights as well. So it's been quite good to just maybe take a break from it all, but I'm missing it now and I'd like to go back.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, can I jump in? What about the skills element of it, guys? Like you know, have you found any kind of innovative ways that you're just keeping up that kind of skillful element to badminton, which I'm sure you have to do lots of as well?
Well, for me, I'm definitely hitting against the back wall. I'm not sure how happy my parents are about that, but yeah, no, I think that's the main thing for me I'm doing to try and just keep my eye in. You can kind of do that every day, and it's just things like that will keep you keep your badminton skills sharp. And then it's just working on other skills, I suppose. Like, it actually kind of gives you an opportunity. Like for me, I've had injuries with my shoulder, so it's actually for my shoulder to get a break. Instead of having to hit the shoulder every day, I can take a break and work on strength instead of normally having just to work on a rehab kind of program for it. So I suppose just keeping, the main thing for me for badminton wise is just keeping sharp, hitting against the wall, and then trying to bring in other things such as that.
Cool. What about you, Chloe? I thought you were going to come in there with something.
Yeah, I was going to say for badminton, we have actually a lot of different parts to the game. So one big one is footwork. And I think right now, especially for the kids, it's a fantastic time that they can take to work on their footwork, because having good footwork makes you get around the court a lot easier. So you can do that anywhere. You can do it, particularly you'll be doing it on grass, not so much on the hard surfaces. And I think for me also, I don't know, obviously not everyone's got access to, you don't even really need a garage, but a bigger room, and you can put your net up to the right height. And that way, you know, I've been practicing my serve. For me, I'm a mixed doubles player, so a big part of our game is serving. Been practicing that, and then you can do small touch around the net as well. So there is small ways that you can adapt, but a big one, I think, for definitely everyone is work on your footwork. It's something that we can do anywhere, small space, big space, and it's so technical. If you get the footwork right, once you go back on court, you'll be moving so much better.
Nice.
Have any of you guys been watching much Netflix in your evenings when you've taken time away from training?
Maybe I'll take that one as well.
You seem a little giggly there.
Yeah, I'm a big Netflix fan. I think every international player or anyone that travels a lot will have a Netflix account. So yeah, I've been watching quite a bit.
And do you care to share what your top Netflix binge-worthy show is at the moment?
Well, like I'm kind of into these crime scenes, and you know, different ones. Like a lot of people watch Narcos. There's different ones about true stories. I'm more into the true stories, so I think not everyone would like my big top picks. Sarah Boyd's got better ones, I think.
I'm on Grey's Anatomy. It's nice and long, so that'll keep me going.
That'll keep you going.
I was lucky enough. I didn't get to watch Game of Thrones when it first came out, so I'm currently binging through that on Now TV. So yeah, that's a pretty handy one to have.
Yeah, I've just finished Tiger King, all the rage.
Oh, I did that one too.
Oh yeah, I've seen that as well.
About 2 days and done. All right. So I'm gonna touch to Rachel since she's been a little bit quiet. I don't know if she's having technical difficulties or can she hear us? Rachel, how are you dealing with balancing studies and your athletic career?
I've actually been quite lucky to get an elite sports scholarship in TU Dublin. So like they've helped me out a lot. They've kind of balanced my classes around training. So I can train in the morning, go to college in the middle of the day, and then back to training. So I'm kind of doing like 3 modules a semester, which is really good. So yeah, I've been quite lucky to be able to balance them out quite well. I know others it's quite difficult for them with a lot of classes, a lot of time. But for me, it's been quite good.
And Sarah, I'm going to jump straight to you. I believe you've split your modules for final year across 2 years. How much has this helped you, and would you recommend it to other sport student athletes?
Yeah, I definitely would. I'm a sports scholarship athlete at DCU. I'm in my final year of business studies. So so last year the DCU Business School were really helpful to me, and they let me split my final year over 2 years. So I did half the modules this year and half the modules last year, and it's made a huge difference for me because I've got the opportunity. I've managed to do my full tournament schedule, and I try and keep full-time training mornings and evenings while still getting my full-time education, which I really value education, so that's a huge thing for me. But yeah, no, it's really helped me because now I feel like I've progressed in both academics and in my sporting career. So it's been brilliant to get that opportunity to be able to work alongside DCU and train full time. So yeah, it's worked out brilliantly, and I definitely recommend.
Good stuff. And Nora, coming to you now. How do you manage a healthy lifestyle being so busy with everything going on?
It's been really interesting for me actually, because I guess just trying to figure out, okay, what exercise do I like doing and all this since I stopped playing rugby. So at the minute, I would do my exercise in the morning. So we've got a 4-month-old baby boy here as well who wakes quite early. And then, so my wife Claire minds him during the day. She's on maternity leave, which is great. But it means if I want to exercise, I either need to do it in the morning before I start work. And then sometimes I might be able to get out in the evening, but usually really the evening's about putting him to bed. So I've been running a lot of 5Ks, which I never thought I would ever do. But I kind of do maybe 3 or 4 of those a week, which is, I'm impressed by that, because as I said, it's not something I'd ever do. You know, I do the odd park run, but it's kind of stretching out now. And then I'm kind of trying to mix it up a little bit as well. So I did it this morning. I did some yoga instead. Just looked up some YouTube channels and copied the exercises to get in a bit of a stretch there. So, but yeah, for me, it's pretty much squeezing it in the morning before I start work. And now when we were in the office, I probably would have done a lot of lunchtime activities as well. You know, kind of classes over in the National Aquatic Centre and things like that, or I was also doing swim for a mile training in the morning. So just about finding ways of putting it into your day and finding time for exercise, because it's really important. And especially now as well, I think even more so, it's about ensuring that we fit it in somewhere to every single day, and any type of exercise is good exercise.
Yeah, and touching on that, you're saying that it was difficult to kind of find what you wanted to do in terms of exercise when you did retire from international rugby. How did you find that transition from balancing a working life alongside your rugby to going to just full-time work?
Yeah, so I think whenever you, like for a lot of sports coming through at the time, it was all about, you know, you did all your training either before work or after work, and then you worked hard you trained at the weekend as well, or your matches or camps were at the weekend. So when I was doing it, that's all I ever knew. So you would train 4 times over the weekend, and then you get up and go to work Monday morning, and you'd squeeze in your sessions throughout the week and then go back training again at the weekend. So it was just what you did, and you just had to manage your time very well. Since that stopped, and since I retired, retirement's tough. And I'd say, you know, most athletes, if they're being honest with you, they will tell you that. You don't know what to do. You kind of had an identity, which was an athlete, and then that's all gone, and you kind of spend a bit of time wondering who you are and what you're going to do with yourself. So like I continued to play club rugby for a couple of years after I retired from international level, and I've only recently stopped that. So it's almost like a second retirement, trying to find out what type of, because I love all sports, but what sports am I going to continuously do on a daily or weekly basis? And I suppose I'm enjoying maybe trying out a few different sports at the minute. And I'm hopeful I'll continue to do that whenever sports get back up and running again, and more organized or formal sports, whether it's in competitions or teams or anything like that gets up and running again. I'm looking forward to joining back in. But I guess I haven't found there's no one size fits all. It's different for every retired athlete, and it is a struggle, but the most important thing is just to motivate yourself to do something, to realize that you do love being healthy and you love being fit, you like being strong, you like being good at something, and it's to try out other sports to see if you can get that same buzz.
Yeah, and I think a lot of what you touched on there kind of leads into like the mental health aspect of it, and like how you really look after yourself, not only physically but mentally, when you do phase out from sport. And obviously now is quite a difficult time for athletes with no access to their facilities that they're used to. And I know that it could definitely take a huge toll in terms of mental health on their motivation to stay motivated. Like, Chloe, I might pop to you on this one. Like, how hard is it to stay motivated now that you kind of have all the bones of what you're used to ripped away from you and you're left just by yourself on your own accord?
Yeah, it's tough. You know, even as Nora said about retiring, but now it's like, you know, everything that we're kind of used to doing every week has been completely taken away. Even you're going to the institute to do your S&C, to get your physio, to get your psychology, whatever you're doing, all that's not there on a weekly basis. But I would have to say that the Institute staff have been brilliant. Claire Brady, who works along with us for S&C, has checked in with us every single week, almost 2-3 times a week. And she's been setting our programs. So every day we know what we're doing. We're getting up to do something. She's never left us a week where we have to kind of just, make it up ourselves, because there's a big chance it doesn't matter what age you are. If you don't have something set out to do, you could, just leave it today. But every day we know what we're getting up to do. And I have to really say thanks to the Institute staff, because they've never left anyone, even or all the athletes in the badminton group, they've been in contact with every week. So it's been brilliant. But mentally it is tough, because, you're always, well, for me, I can only speak for myself, I'm always looking towards the next competition, where I'm getting my next ranking points, what's going on. Whereas now it's like, you don't know when the next tournament is. It might not be to the end of the year. It could be 2021. So that part is tough, and keeping motivated every day to get up and, keep training, even though you don't know what you're peaking for, where the next thing is. That's tough. But for me, it's one day at a time. I've never looked further than tomorrow. I know what I'm doing tomorrow. I'm getting up tomorrow. I'm going to do that, do it to the best that I can do it, and then think about the next day. And I think for me, that's what's working at the minute. If I start thinking about 6 weeks down the line, I think I would crash. So that's all I can say. For me, it's one day at a time.
Yeah, I have a question in here. I'm going to read it out. It's about mental health again. And it reads, when in the middle of the game and losing, how do you keep your mind focused and stop a negative mindset creeping in? I'm going to open it up to the panel, and whoever wants to raise their hand to take it first.
I can take the first one if you want. I think if I follow on from what I said there, taking it one day at a time, when I'm playing and Sam, myself, we've actually had to work a lot on not being negative towards each other when things are starting to go really bad. But you can't change what's happened if you're 10-6 down or 20-16 down or 26 down. There's nothing you can do about that but the next point. And for me, it's always been about giving the best I can in that point, whatever the score line is. I just want to keep doing my best. And it is hard. And sometimes, you do come off and you've had the worst game ever, but you just have to keep building yourself up. And when you're on the court, if you give your best every point and you lose every point, there's nothing more you can do. So for me, it's about just going out there, have your preparation done. I think for a lot of people, they're like, but how do you deal with nerves? If you've prepared the best you can prepare, then nerves normally take care of themselves. Yeah,
very good point. Excuse me, because of the notification. I have another question there on mental health as well. So we might take it from somebody else this time. It says there is a lot of emphasis on training and making sure you're physically fit for a game, but when it comes to big matches, how do you prepare your mind before?
Well, I'll take this one, but I suppose that's a lot of working alongside your coach. So our coach is Daniel McGee, and so a lot of preparation before a tournament, of course, would be the physical aspect, but I suppose it's looking at your opponent, preparing yourself mentally, making sure you're in the right mindset. So for some people, like for me, that's just getting in a routine. So once so how you prep really would be obviously physical, and then you know your opponent, what shots you think your opponent's going to play. Is there anything their weak point or where their strengths? So, and then you just need to focus on aspects of your game that you want to focus on. For me, it's just a bit more talking with my coach beforehand, getting in my own routine before a game. So that would be the aspect aside from the physical, and then you just put them together and just hope for the best, I suppose.
Yeah, I used to do a lot of visualization. So like I got the analysis and everything that Sarah there pointed out, and then in relation to Chloe and like the next focusing on the next point and stuff. But for me, it was kind of prep before the match. So I would have visualized kicks maybe that I would have done in a game, certain situations that would present itself, and what my decision would be, certain passes that you would make, even just like tackles and things like that. So if it was scrums, knowing that like the opposition is going to break off the back of the scrum, and what does my tackle look like in doing that. So I think visualization can play a huge part. I would have been interviewed recently for the Sunday Times, and we happened to get talking about the New Zealand match, and in the lead up to that New Zealand match, I had like a little New Zealand pin, which I took to training for about 6 to 9 months in the lead up to the Women's Rugby World Cup, and in the lead up to that game. And that pin was in my training bag all the time, just to remind me that we were going to play them, and to refocus my mind when I was in training, that that's who I was training to beat. So like anytime we were doing sprints or runs or anything like that, I always pictured a New Zealand player ahead of me who I was trying to chase and who I was trying to beat to the ball, or who I was trying to like pass before she got to the line. So I think visualization can just go so far in prepping you for any type of game, and it can sometimes be more valuable than the actual physical work that you do on the court or on the pitch.
I'm going to move on slightly to national titles. So we're going to go to Sarah first. Obviously you won your first women's single national title this year. How was that for you, and how did you prepare yourself for that game, the big game in your career in Irish nationals?
Well, obviously it was a big highlight in my career so far. It was brilliant because all my family came to watch, and when you play internationally a lot of the time they don't get the chance to see you play live. So that was obviously a big deal for me so yeah, that was brilliant. And then of course I got the chance to play alongside Chloe, which was brilliant, because Chloe's kind of been an idol growing up for me. So to get to play win a national title with her was great fun. I hope she enjoyed it as much as I did. But yeah, no, I suppose prepping for that is just kind of, I just kind of took it as every tournament, just got in my routine, and I just took it like every other tournament. I just tried in a way to try and forget that maybe my family was there, to just try and focus and keep the nerves down and try and enjoy it. Yeah, absolutely.
Rachel, you yourself have won national titles as well. Touching a little bit on what Sarah said there, how different is it for you to compete in national titles or tournaments compared to international tournaments? How different is it, like the setup and the energy in the room? What kind of difference is it like?
I think like exactly what Sarah said, when you're playing internationally, you don't really get to have your family or friends there. Like, you're traveling with obviously your teammates, but they're preparing for their own matches and focusing on themselves. Obviously, like, it is very different. You probably won't have played your opponent before. You might be able to see a little bit about them on YouTube or different places, but chances are it's a new opponent, new game kind of thing. Whereas at the nationals, you're training with these people maybe twice every day. Like, you know each other's strengths, you know each other's weaknesses, and chances are you're actually helping each other with your weaknesses. Like, I know me and Sarah would work a lot together because we're the two, we play singles and we're always training together. So we kind of know each other and we help each other a lot. Where then, like, it's just how you deal with that pressure. And I think whether you're playing international or national, you can learn from both of those. But yeah, I think it's different, but it's also like you can learn from both, I think.
Absolutely. Chloe, obviously this year was fantastic for you in terms of your national titles. You won your 26th national titles now. In comparison to your first title and the 26th to become that national title holder, how are them games in compared to when you won your first one to when you won your 26th?
Nationals is a funny one. For me personally, I think every time I've showed up to the Nationals, I've been expected to win. So every year you're coming along, it's coming to February, it's like you're going to the Nationals and there's no reason why I should lose. And everyone's just expecting, oh, Chloe will go to the Nationals, she'll win this. And the amount of times I've heard it coming up during the week, it's like, oh, should be no bother to you, oh, there should be no bother to you. And I can honestly sit here and say that every single Nationals that I've went to, whether I've meant to win or not, I have felt nervous. And it's a nervous that, as the girls have both said, all my family are there. My dad, who is probably my biggest supporter, but is also my biggest critic, he is always there. So as much as the first Nationals, of course, it meant a lot because you win your first Nationals, you never won it before. And you're like, it's kind of that crown where you feel like, okay, you're the best in the country now. This is your first national title. But then as it goes along, it's like, I think you need to realize that, okay, it's brilliant to win a Nationals, but there's such a big world of badminton outside of the Irish Nationals, and you have to feel that it's special to you. But international badminton is such a bigger step, and you can't just take that and be like, okay, that's enough now. You have to take it as a step on the journey and then want to push on for more. Whether I've won 1 or 26, I think every single one of them has been hard. And I think the hardest one that I had to win was Sarah, but we'll say nothing about that.
Do you think, guys, like, because I would hear that quite a lot, how when people are playing within Ireland and they win national titles or they become like one of the best in Ireland, they think it's brilliant. and then they nearly don't make that next jump, or they don't even realize, like, how do we make the younger people breaking through today realize that, yeah, you want to be best in Ireland, but you want to reach so far further than that if you want to be the best in the world? Like, how do we get that across to them?
Yeah, I mean, I have seen so many times, and as the girl just said, I've been there nearly, I don't know how many years I've played the nationals. The people, they've won the nationals and they're like, wow, I'm so good, I won the Irish nationals. And they forget that there is such a big world that you shouldn't be targeting being the best in Ireland, but you should be targeting to be the best that you can be. And that's only one step. And if you can take that, and you, of course, everyone should target it. And of course, everyone should want to win that national title. But if you take it as a step on the road and know that, you know, you want to target here, but this is just one step to get to here. I think that's so important. And it is also important that we tell the kids that, yes, to be a national winner, of course, it's brilliant, it's special, but you want to reach higher. We don't want to be producing people that can compete in Ireland. We want to produce players that can compete internationally, that want to win international medals. And it's a mindset. I think it's a mindset from the beginning.
And like, say for Sarah, Rachel, the fact that you're on scholarships, do you find that your universities help you to push through to that next level? Like, do they give you any support there in terms of, you know, what are you hoping to achieve, and let's get you there, let's get you Olympic qualification and things like that? Like, what type of support do you get from the universities?
I know that
Rachel, yeah.
I know that in my college in TU Dublin, they definitely help. Like, they have a lot of different things, whether it's nutritional support, psychology, physio, like they do offer everything. And also they help you financially, like whether it's kind of different for everyone. You can get your fees and stuff paid as well. Like, and I think, no, TU Dublin have been very helpful with all that. Like, they do look after you. They kind of keep up to date with how you're doing, how you're feeling, and where you are going towards Olympics and your goals and things. You know, I think like they've been very good with that. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I'd agree. Well, DCU, I'd say similar. Obviously the financial support is a big one, because then that actually gives you the opportunity to compete internationally. And I suppose you don't actually get exposed to how big it is outside Ireland until you actually go there. So like Chloe was saying, when you're playing the nationals, playing inside Ireland, you feel like, okay, I'm doing okay here, and then you might take a step out, and then you could be losing first round in every tournament. So that's a huge jump. Yeah, so like with DCU, and the benefits that have really helped me kind of do that kind of transition have been, the financial's been the biggest one, but also like the access to the gym, access to different workshops on time management and nutrition. And all those little things build in to help you. And then just even the support system. So like, you get to meet the opportunities on the scholarship side, is that you get to meet other athletes who might be competing internationally as well. So it's nice to have, when you build up a base, like obviously all the guys I'm training with as well, they're all kind of doing the same thing. They're all playing internationally. And then obviously the people in DCU on scholarships competing internationally, there's kind of an understanding. And that's kind of nice then when you have like a bigger group, because then it can be lonely when you go abroad on your own. But if you have, like, you know, people you can talk to people about, it really helps you build your morale. And then, yeah, so that definitely is an encouraging factor and helps you to kind of make that breakthrough and try and do well internationally.
Nice, thanks.
In terms of, we're talking a lot about internationals. Nora, obviously you played for Ireland in rugby. So in terms of, how was it for you earning that first cap for Ireland?
Yeah, it was very special. Like, my first cap was in 2010 against Italy. Myself and Ali Miller started our first, that was our first cap for both of us, and we both started on the wing. So I gradually moved closer to the centre and further in, and she stayed in the wing and scored plenty of tries. I didn't score any, so that's what happens. Or no, I scored one, I think. But yeah, like, I'll never forget that. I'll never forget the anthem when you come out of the changing rooms and jog onto the pitch, and then you're all standing there as a team, arms around each other, and they play the national anthems. Like, it's, you know, the hairs are standing up the back of your neck, and sometimes it's a bit emotional. Sometimes you're just like really pumped and really just can't wait to get going. Other times I would be going through some of the moves in my mind, not mainly when the opposition anthem was being played. I used to start thinking of our moves, so I wasn't thinking about them and stuff. So everybody has their different things, but yeah, that first one was special, and seeing the Irish flag as well, and just kind of looking down and seeing the crest in your jersey and realizing that you're representing your country. It's a very hard thing to describe unless you get there. And you know, I just feel lucky that I was one of the few that have managed to wear an Irish jersey.
Going on, I'm going to jump back a little bit when we were talking about bridging the gap and trying to get those younger aspiring athletes to want more than just national titles. I know that if you have played league abroad, do you think that might be an opportunity for bridging this gap? And like, are there valuable insights for those aspiring athletes to gain from going abroad to play league? Oh, I might start with you. Lagan?
Yeah, for playing league is it's a big help. I think it's a good way to see playing internationally. You can kind of go from Ireland to league and then to international. You can play in front of different people. You can play in an environment where everyone wants you to win for the team. And I think it's also important for these younger guys who really struggle to get funding to go abroad to play tournaments. It's tough because funding isn't huge for badminton, and they can make a little bit of money from these matches abroad, playing league in Germany or France or wherever it may be. They can make this money to get on the ladder, to start playing international tournaments, because the only way to get funding is to move up the ranking list. The only way to move up the ranking list is to get money to play tournaments. So I think this is an important step, and it's an important step for all the younger guys to try and get their level good enough that they are wanted to go and play in these leagues, because if you're not good enough, they're not going to want you to come. So yeah, it's a good stepping stone. It's a high pressure environment, because if you go over there, they're paying everything for you to go, and you don't perform, there's a very high chance they're going to be like, okay, we're not bringing you back because you have to pay flight ticket, your hotel. So it's a very good opportunity. And I think it's something, there's a lot of leagues throughout Germany, throughout France, that these guys can really look towards playing. And it's important that they try to target that, get their money to play tournaments, and that way they get on the international ladder.
Yeah, and for yourself, Rachel, obviously you've been competing abroad as well in terms of league. How tough is that decision? Obviously balancing college as well on top of it. How hard has that been?
Yeah, I think the first time I started playing league, I was quite young. I didn't really know if I wanted to travel by myself, and kind of ask my parents. I was just finished school. I was just 17. It's a big thing to start by yourself. So I think it's definitely helped me 100% in just getting to see like playing against different players, different environments, having to adapt to somebody that you don't really know that well. It's kind of like, as Chloe said, a stepping stone into the senior international circuit. Like, you get this experience of just having to adapt as quick as you can. Balancing it with college it has been tough, but it's been a lot easier than it would be if I didn't have the scholarship. I think they've been really helpful. You kind of just have to plan it as you go along, know where you are and when you're there, and have your college work organized and have it done, meet the deadlines. And it's just, it's a lot of planning.
Yeah, I'd agree with Rachel on that. With league, I think, as Chloe and Rachel said, I think it's a brilliant stepping stone, and it gives you an opportunity to get into a routine of traveling. Sometimes when you start off and you're traveling, it's like a huge thing and you get so nervous. Whereas if you get to play in league a good few times, you kind of get a little bit more used to it. So you gain experience, and then you can settle a little bit, and that'll help you when you're playing the other tournaments. So yeah, I'd agree. It is a great stepping stone.
In terms of, you talk a lot about playing internationally, all of you. One of the questions here that we have are, who are some of the best players you've played in the world or in Europe, and how do you learn from them players? In terms of, you can learn about their performance before you play them, but when you actually play them, like, do you learn a lot from them in terms of how badminton is played in Ireland to how it's played in their countries?
Yeah, definitely. I think you can learn from everyone that you play against, whether it be people in Ireland or people abroad. But for me personally, playing against the best players in the world, it's where I've got my biggest beatings, but I've also learned so much. I think one of the players recently that I've really looked up to my whole life has been Liliana Natzer. I played her a couple of times in mixed. She was obviously the best in the world. For me, definitely the best in the world in mixed doubles. And her skills, like like her skills were just so good. She could do anything with the shuttle. Her racket skills every time. So you can tell that she stood and done a lot of technical work on the training courts. And I've just admired everything that she could do, the way she could read the game, the way that even though if she wasn't moving her quickest, she could still be right on the shuttle. Wherever you were going to play it, she was just there. So for her, I just admired everything that she could do. And if I go back to my singles days when I played against Carolina Marin, I think for her, you just have to admire her physical. Her physical on court is just so strong. She's moving faster than anyone else. And those are two completely different things. She is physically brilliant. Of course, she's got brilliant racket skills as well. But Liliana Natzer, who's maybe not moving as quick as her, but can read the game so much better. You just learn so much from playing against these world-class players.
Rachel, any more to add before I jump in with something else?
I would say
to cut across anyone.
I would say the same as Chloe. Like, I've competed with some of the best in the world in the singles as well, in Commonwealth Games, European Games, and it's just like seeing, obviously you're training yourself, you're doing your stuff to the best of your ability, but it's just seeing like how much better their quality of shots is than yours, and just trying to like run down their game, and you may get beat quite badly, or just being able to leave the court knowing that you tried your best, you did everything you've been doing in training. It's really absolutely nice to just see where your level is, I think. But yeah, it's a good experience.
I'd agree with Rachel on that. It's just about getting that experience and kind of being able to gauge your level, because if you get the opportunity to play against the top players, like you can kind of see, okay, this is how much I need to improve. Like, where exactly was I? So where exactly were they? Was it their shots? Was it their speed? So that means you can kind of go back on a gauge and see, okay, well, this is the top level, and this is where I am at in comparison. So yeah, when you get the opportunity like that, it is nerve-wracking, but it's a brilliant opportunity, and you have to take it and learn from it.
Yeah. And Nora, for you, I know I saw a lot this week of articles about the game against the Blackferns and that historic victory against them. Is that one of the games that you would kind of think of those players if you were to ask what players you were up against that were the toughest?
Yeah, so I would have looked probably at Kelly Brazier a lot. So she was playing out half, I'm pretty sure. She's kind of moved into the centre, or she was playing out half then. She'd move into 12 or 13 as well. And she's just a really skillful player. I think though, the most important thing is like when you're in the match itself, they're just another player. So you're not admiring what they do. I mean, yeah, if they do something spectacular and score a point, you might applaud them just from being, I don't know, good sportsmanship or whatever it is. But I think when you're in the match, you're just so focused on trying to lessen their game, lessen their impact, trying to impose whatever you'd come up with in terms of your own tactics on them and how you're going to beat them, or whatever your shot selection is and things like that. But all your analysis takes place afterwards then. So when you come away from that match, what can you learn from it? What was their decision making like versus yours? And so that's what I find. But like Kelly would have been one, she was like the main Blackfern player that I would have watched and admired, and you're obviously you're aspiring to be as good as them. And then another one was Katie Day Mclean, who's with England, and she's been playing 10 or out half for England for an awful long time. She was playing there before I started, and she's still playing. So she would be another person. And again, yeah, you'd respect them and you admire them for their ability, but it was more so that I knew if I was going to be a good enough player for Ireland and to compete against other teams, that I had to look to be better or as good as players from other countries. So like that, it was about stop thinking about what's in Ireland and stop trying to be the best out half in Ireland, but now focus on out halves from other countries and look to be as good or better than them if we're to compete at all at that level. So that was more the way I looked at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Bit of an echo there. There's always some sort of technical glitch, isn't there? Chloe, coming back to you, how surprised or were you surprised to hear the postponement of the upcoming Tokyo 2020 Games?
I don't think I was surprised. I think everyone knows that it's almost impossible to run an Olympic Games in the current situation that we're in. And the most important thing now is our health, and everybody sticking together and trying to get out the other side of this. So I think it was a smart decision, and a decision that I think a lot of people knew was coming.
And how has the change in date changed your preparation, or has it at all?
Yeah, well, it's been pretty big for me because Sam and myself weren't qualified yet. There was another 2-3 months of qualification. A lot of tournaments got cancelled. We needed to get points, and yeah, it's difficult because obviously it's been quite clear that after August I was planning to retire from badminton, and now it's like 2021. It's a full year, and I think in sport that's a long time. It's a lot more tournaments, but again, I'm just waiting to see what the announcement is for the qualification. I think it would be stupid of us not to finish it out and see where we end up, what the story is. So whenever they make that announcement, we'll see where we go from there. But again, it's difficult. It's difficult for them to decide, the BWF, where they're going to start it. I presume they don't know yet. So once that announcement is made, I think it'll be a big
yeah.
decision.
I'm also conscious we would have junior and leaving certificate students tuning in at the moment, and for them obviously the biggest event in their respective lives are those upcoming exams, which have also been postponed. Is there any kind of advice that you can give to them, how they can prepare for a postponed event in their life like you are doing with Tokyo?
Yeah, well, I think Sarah Boyle could actually take this one after me, because she has been someone who has studied quite a lot for her Leaving Cert and came out with a really good Leaving Cert. So I think it's important, as everyone will tell you, to prepare, to make a plan. I know it's really difficult when you don't know exactly the dates, you don't know when you're going to take your exams, you don't know these things yet. But I think if every day you get up, and even if you try and do a little bit every day, not every day is going to be a good day, but if you try and do a little bit every day, keep prepared. That's the only thing that you can do right now, and just wait until you know what the dates are going to be.
I don't know how
you're going to add
answering that, Chloe, but I feel very sorry for them. I think that's really tough, especially for the Leaving Certs. I suppose the only thing I can really suggest is that try and keep any kind of structure on your day, even for, like, I'm obviously in my finals now, and I just find if I set out, like, at the start of the week, I send a plan to Dan, and I set out my study. If I kind of have a list on my week, if I have it just written down and it's concrete, it means that I've written it down, I'm going to have to do it now. So instead of me just waking up and being like, oh, what'll I do today? It's kind of a more of you have your plan, and then you'll almost feel guilty if you don't do it. So, but yeah, no, I definitely feel for the students. That's very tough. But yeah, that's my piece of advice.
So I think that kind of leads us into our question and answers. So Sarah's actually going to lead that from now, if that's okay with you guys.
So we got a couple of questions in before the webinar. So the first one will be more directed at Nora. Have you any ideas how to keep girls playing during their teen years? Because obviously that's where a lot of the dropout is in terms of sport.
Yeah, it is. So girls tend to drop out through their teenage years, and particularly it can start when they move from primary school to secondary school. So I think the key thing is when we, if you think of parents, teachers and coaches, just how important that their roles are, and keeping girls involved. So as girls make that transition into first year of school, how are we motivating them to stay involved in their sport or to continue to be active? When we look at coaches and the role that they can play, like when girls show up to their training sessions, they have certain motivations that they're trying to get from that session, whether it's fun, social element, they want to learn a new skill, they want to feel like they've worked hard during the session, and they want to feel like they're being challenged, and perhaps give them that sense of competition as well amongst one another. So it's really important as a coach that you understand those motivations from the players themselves, and that could be about asking them, sitting them down a couple of times during the year, finding out why they turn up to training, couple of one-on-ones, or small groups and things like that. But I'd say that to coaches, just really find out why your players are coming to training, and then make sure that you deliver all those motivations every time they step out. But I think that's probably a key thing. From a Sport Ireland perspective, we're also looking at a new coaching module for coaches of teenage girls. And the whole idea is that we would discover that information and then be able to supply it to coaches and be able to show them how to get that information from their own players and then deliver it within training sessions as well, or sometimes outside the training sessions. You know yourselves, most of us love a good day away with the team or your teammates or whatever group playing group you're involved in. It's all about that social element outside of sport as well, so that's important.
Right. Just looking here, Rachel, Ashley has asked when you were young, like the kind of typical question you get, what did you want to be when you grew up, and did you ever think you'd be where you are now?
I think that when I grew up, obviously I've had Sam and Chloe and Josh kind of showing me what they could do with badminton. They were always there winning, as Chloe's won all those national titles, same as Sam, same as Josh. They've always kind of just been there, and it's been almost like role models for me. So I kind of always looked up to them, but I always thought I wanted to be my own person as well and achieve things for myself. And like, I think it's really nice to have them, but it's also something that can push you on and kind of like where you can to aspire to, but also kind of maybe try and do better. Like when I was younger, it was all about enjoyment for me. I didn't know, like I done every sport. I done swimming and ballet and gymnastics. I kind of done everything. I didn't really know what I wanted to kind of not specialize in, but where I wanted to go. And I did okay at school, but it was never really my favorite thing. And I always knew as well I wanted to get an education as well, which some of the other guys have kind of done sport and left their education until after sport. So I kind of, that was kind of what I wanted to do. So I'm on track to doing that.
That's great. Sarah, James sent in a question, and he wants to know, what are the biggest challenges that girls or women face when participating in sports? So when you're growing up, what sort of challenges did you come up against?
Well, for me, I was kind of a tomboy, so I don't know if that's the best question for me, but no, I think it's just like for girls, maybe like they're more like sport is more considered kind of a boyish thing to do. I don't really know, like just there's kind of more of like that side of things, but I don't really know how to answer that one, to be honest.
I think we're all tomboys, Sarah, so that's fine. Like, it must be if you played sport when you're younger, that's what you were called.
We have another question here for Chloe. Maggie would like to know, what do you believe has been a driving force to your success? And if you're able to identify 2 or 3 key things, what would they be?
I think for me, I'm very determined. In anything that I go to do, I always want to be the best at it, the best that I can be at it. You know, even if I'm playing table tennis with Rachel, you know, I want to be better than her at that. So I'm very, very determined. You know, I'm hardworking. I think I'm one of those people that, especially when I played singles, you know, I trained really, really hard, and I wouldn't be the most natural player with my racket, but because I've trained so hard, you know, I've really grinded out a lot of good results. So I think I'm a really good example of someone that maybe hasn't been good from the start and has worked really hard and come through on those years. But everything for me, you know, I've always wanted to play against the best players in the world. It's never motivated me to be the best in Ireland. It's never motivated me to win the smaller tournaments. I've always wanted to be a part of the Super Series, a part of those bigger Super 1000, Super 750 tournaments. And to be in there, you have to be ranked top 30, top 32 in the world. And that's always where I've wanted to be. That was, you know, for me, a big goal. Another goal was to win a European medal, just to get a major medal, to be even have that respect of having a European medal was another big goal for me. So I think you have to set the bar where you want it to be. And if your bar is here, then you'll always be pushing towards it. If you always stay in your safety zone, you know, that's exactly the results you're going to get. So when I left school, I moved away to Sweden for 2 years. It was probably the toughest 2 years of my life. I was very young and had never trained full time. I was not in shape. You know, I didn't know how to eat properly. I didn't even know the mental part of the game. But when I moved there, I learned very quickly a lot of things. And I realized that, you know, for me, sport was never going to be just getting through. You know, I wanted to be part of the top part of the game. So I think it's figuring out where you want to be, you know, aim high. You might, if you don't get there, you know, it's better to aim high than to just stay in your comfort zone, stay in your safety zone. And really, you know, I've always enjoyed playing badminton. I've enjoyed being part of the world tour. I've made so many good friends, you know, friends that will definitely stay with me my whole life. So, you know, be determined, set your goals, and lastly, just really enjoy it.
Yeah. We actually have another question for you, Chloe, from Carmel Lynch from Student Sport Ireland. She wants to know how you and Sam get on, and is it a difficult dynamic partnering with your sibling?
You know, I wish I could get €1 for every time someone has asked me that question, because I would definitely be a millionaire after it. Yeah, of course it's tough. Everyone knows that even if you're sitting at home with your brother, you're going to have fights about who's watching what on the TV. It doesn't matter what it is. And Sam and myself are no different. We've had our disagreements. We actually spent some time with a psychologist, Kate Kirby, and I think she just basically told us to appreciate each other, that we both were good at different things. I think as well, Sam and myself are polar opposites, and the girls will tell you this from training. Sam is a complete thinker and maybe an overthinker, and he is very much, he's very in touch with the mental side of the game and his own mental health. He's very, very in touch with that. I'm also, I like to think about things, but I'm very much a doer. Like if someone goes to me, you're doing this, this, and this, I'll just get it done. Sam will think about how he's going to do it before he does it. So we're very, very different, and traveling the world together can be an experience, because we obviously travel only the two of us. Nad is obviously traveling sometimes with us, but mostly it's just Sam and myself. So you can imagine on these 10-hour flights to Asia and another 10 hours after that, there's a lot of good conversations.
We'll take one more, I think. We have a question here. It says, how important do you think off-court aids such as performance analysis are for you, both on your own performance and on the opposition? How, do you use them sort of tools? And if you do, how much do you see the benefit in using them? If anybody, Rachel or Sarah, want to take that?
I think they're actually very important. I would struggle a lot with my nerves and feel like sometimes a lot of pressure. I think that even sitting down and talking to Dan before games or before tournaments and stuff really helps me a lot, just to kind of get it out more than anything else. Also with the psychologist, like dealing with things in the game as we had before. If you're losing, how do you come back? How do you stay focused and things like this? I think that's actually quite important for me myself. Maybe Sarah has a different opinion, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, Rachel. Definitely all the things she said. And then another one I'd add to is all that analysis after is a big thing, because once you do that analysis after, then you can actually implement that into training, and then you can basically learn from that. So then the next time you can hopefully look back and not make the same mistakes, or focus on the things that you think you've actually done really well in the game. So you can then identify that, and then that'll give you confidence, one, and two, just remind you that you should do the same thing there you did. And then, yeah, so it's that kind of way you'll learn a lot about yourself as well. Obviously looking at opponents is very important, so you have an idea of what to expect. But I think the main thing is just for yourself that it kind of changes your training routine, or yeah, so you can just basically learn and decide, take it from what you've learned and work on it.
Nora, would you have used performance analysis much when you were playing as well?
Yeah, we would have. It would have been built into most of your training sessions. So before you go out in the pitch, we would have a video session where you might go through the opposition and kind of talk about your game plan and things like that. So just all about spotting weaknesses, spotting opportunities, what kind of threats to the opposition bring, and then how you're going to reduce their threat when they're attacking you and things like that. So it was important. It's actually come into the club game a lot more now. So there, if you provided a kind of online platform for all clubs, so once the clubs recorded the match, then there, if you would edit it for you, and it would go up on an online sharing platform, which is invaluable because the money just wasn't there in the clubs to do all of that yourself. So now you're seeing like the nearly the third tier. So if there's international, interpros would all do their video analysis as well, and then the club is a third tier, and they've now started doing it. So it just means that another kind of layer of players is being exposed to it, and they get to add that kind of element to their game when they're training and then when they're preparing for matches.
Just before I wrap up, because obviously I'm conscious of time, Nora, I just want to pop back to you. I know that Sport Ireland have been sharing a load of tips on their website for keeping active at home. If you want to touch on that for our viewers here, it might help some of them.
Yeah, definitely. So Sport Ireland, whether it's via their website, or else have a look on their Twitter handles or Instagram and different social media accounts as well. So there's an awful lot of tips up there about both exercising at home and then also your mental health as well, and looking after that. And also if you look at gov.ie, there's a lot of information up there as well. And finally, I kind of add in the local sports partnership. So it's like quite often a lot of people around the country wouldn't realize the amount of work that the local sports partnerships do, and they've got heaps of information on getting active, and it's everything from being active with your kids to like targeting like say teenagers, what they can be doing, but also looking at older adults. So for anyone listening here, if it's, you know, your mum or your dad or your granny, granddad or anyone like that, or people you know, there's loads of information there about keeping older adults active as well, which is so important during the lockdown, cocooning and things like that. So yeah, I guess, you know, for anyone as well, just like where we're talking about exercising at home, going back to what we said at the start, trying to do something every day, and it doesn't really matter what it is, like obviously staying within the 2 kilometers, but whether it's jogging, walking, or even, you know, the exercises at home. Like I've started looking at online videos and just doing the yoga this morning, but there's loads of HIIT session and things like that. So I think it's about, now's the chance to maybe try out some exercises that you would never have done before, and maybe use it as an opportunity to do that rather than all the time worrying about COVID-19. Let's try and just embrace the new opportunities that it's given us.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. I think that just about takes us to the end of this evening's webinar. I know on behalf of Sarah and myself and Badminton Ireland, I'd like to thank the four of you for joining us this evening for what was a great discussion. For those of you who joined in to watch, thank you very much again. We hope that you did gain some valuable insights from our excellent panel this evening. And again, I'd like to thank Sport Ireland, our local sports partnerships, and everybody else who did help us to share this event on social media and promote it. And yeah, we hope you really enjoyed the evening.
Great.
That's about us. Thank you very much, girls.
Well done, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.